Hey there, future paraprofessional, and welcome to lesson number 3 of your ParaPro test prep lesson. All right, in this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to identify reading structures. And this comes from the third exam competency within the official study companion of the ParaPro, which reads examinees for test day need to be able to identify how a reading selection is organized. And what that means is to identify reading structures. So let's talk about the different types of reading structures and how they are organized. So we can remember that books will come in 2 different formats, either narrative, which is fiction, or expository, which is nonfiction. It might also be classified on your test as informational texts. So let's go on down and ask ourselves, teaching our students text structures, how does it actually help engage their reading and build their reading automaticity or reading comprehension? Well, if you receive a test question when completing your ParaPro, be on the lookout for answer options that remind the test administrators or really demonstrate your understanding for text structures by stating that teaching our students about different text structures will allow them and help them to identify and better understand the setting, the characters, the conflict, and the plot while reading. It will also help us and help our students to spot common patterns such as cause and effect, compare contrast, or sequences with expository texts. Also, to build off that, it helps students choose the best graphic organizers if they understand what they're reading and the different text structures. They will know whether they should create, based off whether it's narrative or nonfiction, a story map or a Venn diagram, for example. And then finally, it helps us and students follow the author's train of thoughts more easily, again, to build that reading comprehension. All right, so next up, what I want to do is introduce different reading structures that you will want to know for your exam. What I first and foremost would like to focus your attention on is this yellow box labeled common transition words. I'm going to be presenting the different type of text structures, and each have this common transition words. Now, if on exam day, you receive a question that asks you to identify which text structure would be most important or which text structure is part of a text passage that you need to read, and you notice that it has words like first, second, later, before, all of, or one or more of these different transition words, you will know that it is a chronological text structure. So remember that chronological text structures are events or steps that are presented in the way from the time that they are given or the time that it happens. They're often used to present sequences or historical accounts. Also, you can think of these as, oftentimes these are presented in our daily routines, right? First you wake up, then you make breakfast, then you brush your teeth, then you walk out the door, like that. These are often common assignments for this type of text structure for young learners. All right, let's go on down to the second text structure, which is cause and effect. And cause and effect explains why something happens, which is the cause, and what happens as the result of that cause, which is in turn the effect. Now notice you will want to be on the lookout for transition words like if this, then that, or reasons why as a result, so on and so forth. You can have a look at the screen for all of the common transition words. And then also notice that when presented with a question on test day about how to best facilitate cause and effect for our students in order to effectively help guide and scaffold their learning, we look for an answer option that uses a cause and effect illustration like this that easily helps the student identify a place where they can write the cause and a place where they can write the corresponding effect. All right, let's go on down to the third common text structure, which is compare and contrast. Now this shows similarities and differences between ideas or objects. And notice also that in this illustration, we're using the Venn diagram, which is a common illustration used for comparison and contrast. All right, moving downward to the fourth text structure, that's problem and solution, where here we can pinpoint or identify from a text a problem and the prospective solution, whether the assignment is asking the student to create their own solution based off the problem, foresee into the future and make a prediction, or just identify what was actually literally stated in the text. All right, now let's go on down to the fifth, which is sequence and process. And I want to bring your attention to that the sequential illustration is the same as the chronological. And the difference with chronological and sequential is that chronological is presented in the order that they happen, whereas a sequential text structure describes steps as a process from start to finish. And we can think of these oftentimes, for example, like a recipe book. Now, again, notice they have common transition words. So if on exam day you find a text structure that uses these, note and be aware that it's probably sequential. Now let's go on down to description and listing, where I always think about this text structure for brainstorming. We can think of different ideas or descriptions that might fit a single topic that we put in the bigger circle in the center. All right, description and listing offers a detailed overview of a topic by listing features, characteristics, examples, or more and other. Now let's go on down where we stop talking about our expository text structures and we start talking about our narrative text structure, which is called a story grammar outline, where we can see the plot structure, where we'll be teaching our students that within narrative texts, they have a beginning, a middle, and an end or a conclusion, and they have this 6-part plot structure starting with the exposition, moving to conflict, rising action, all the way at the top with the climax, and then moving on down with the falling action and ending with a resolution. Now, this again is for narrative texts. So, great job following along with this lesson. Now it's your job to check your readiness for test day, all about reading structure, by clicking this blue Start Exam button and reading the different text passages in order to identify the correct text structure. Once you're ready, move on down to click the purple Continue button, or simply go to the navigation bar on the left and move down to the next lesson, which reads to determine the meanings of words. And I'll see you in that lesson.